In this video, I'm going to dive in and talk about the mysterious tale of the Baba Yaga. The Baba Yaga is a witch from the Slavic folklore who lives in a magical hut in the forest and either helps, imprisons, or eats those that she encounters. Baba Yaga is a famous witch of the East, well known in Russia. She has spooked and scared little children across the Eastern Europe for many centuries. The origins of the Baba Yaga's name are complex and often disputed. In Slavic languages, Baba typically refers to grandmother or woman, but the exact translation varies among different languages and dialects. Among Russian and Polish terminology, the translation can mean many things, including fortune teller, sorceress, or midwife. In modern-day Russia, Baba is a projective term for woman in general. Yaga is even more continuous, translating across the Slavic language as horror, serpent, snake, witch, or evil woman. Some believe it's a variation on the female name Jadwiga, or in reference to the verb yagat in Russian, which means to find fault. Baba Yaga was first mentioned in a book on Russian grammar in 1755, but is thought to have existed in the oral tradition of Slavic folklore much earlier. Although in most tales she is found in, she appears to be the villain. Baba Yaga can be seen offering assistance and can be understood as more of a trickster than an evil witch. Russian tales describe her as a deformed, scraggly old woman who has bony legs as well as a long crooked nose, piercing eyes and iron teeth. She has a powerful persona that can be rather unpredictable. Her goal is to strike fear in those that she meets. The Baba Yaga is envisioned as an enormous, ugly old woman who lives in a hut built on 4 tall chicken legs that can turn around or move on command. She is often seen draped over her stove. When she leaves her house, she is said to ride in a mortar propelled by a pestle with one hand, while in the other hand she holds a broom to wipe away any trace of her tracks. The Baba Yaga is also said to wield powerful magic, while also commanding a flock of black geese to search the woods for children. Boys and girls who ignore their mother's warnings while wandering too far into the forest might find themselves snatched up by the geese and carried back to the witch's oven. She lives on the edge of the forest in a wooden hut, but it's like no other hut you've ever seen, for it stands on a pair of giant chicken legs. It usually has no windows, sometimes not even a door. The house does not reveal its door unless you say the magical phrase, "Turn your back to the forest, your front to me." The fence surrounding Baba Yaga's hut is made of human bones with skulls on top, often with one pole lacking its skull, leaving space for another victim. Baba Yaga is a figure from Slavic folklore that appears throughout various different fairy tales and legends. Her nature is ambiguous and often changes, sometimes in the course of a single story. In some tales, she's a cannibalistic witch who feeds on children. In other stories, she's a wise and helpful sorceress with special powers. Baba Yaga is sometimes mentioned as a guardian of the waters of life that grants immortality or a keeper of magical items. Baba Yaga's role in folklore is usually associated with the teachings of a lesson, either for the hero or the characters surrounding them. Many scholars equate her ambiguous nature to mother goddess figures in legend and myths, who are usually capable of being nurturing but also wrathful and capable of violence. Baba Yaga is a very controversial character. She's not good, but she's not entirely evil. She can't be portrayed as good or evil. She needs a special approach. In most Slavic folktales, she is portrayed as an antagonist. There are many stories in which she kidnaps children and threatens to eat them unless they do the tasks she set out for them. There are also some stories where she provides misleading information to strangers who are unlucky to lose their way deep in the forest where she lives. However, some characters in different mythology folk stories have been known to seek her out for her wisdom, and has been known on occasion to offer guidance to lost souls. She helps people with their quests, although this is seen as rare. Seeking out her aid is usually portrayed as a dangerous act. An emphasis is placed on the need for proper preparation and purity of spirit, as well as basic politeness. It is said she ages 1 year every time she is asked a question, which probably explains why she is reluctant to help. This effect, however, is said to be reversed with a special blend of tea made with blue roses. Some tales feature Baba Yaga not as a single woman, but as a unit of 3 sisters, similar in appearance, living in 3 separate houses. The Baba Yaga is said to share several characteristics with an early Slavic goddess of death, called Agaya Baba. The underworld goddess sat atop of an iron mortar and carried a pestle made from the same material. Some slaves dedicated blood sacrifices to the goddess. Because of this, many people believe that the Baba Yaga has evil origins. One tale even claims that the devil boiled 12 evil women in a cauldron to create an essence of evil. After the devil spat in the cauldron, Baba Yaga burst out. But others argue that her positive portrayal in some stories, especially where she helps young visitors, is a sign that there is some good in her. The Baba Yaga is well known from stories such as Melissa the Beautiful. In this story, she helps free the heroine from the tyranny of her stepmother and her stepsisters. She also appears in other famous tales such as The Frog Princess and Baba Yaga the Kind-Hearted Girl, in which she is casted as a similar role. Others say that she is a part of a trio of witches, all with the same name. As she moves around the forest, she rides a giant mortar and uses it together with a pestle to grind up the bones of those she eats. Some scholars believe she was initially the personification of nature, which can be cruel or kind in turns, or a storm cloud or a storm. It is a mystery whether Baba Yaga actually existed or not. However, the fact she appears across mythologies and fairy tales so often may lead one to believe that she may really existed as an evil old woman.